මගේ ටාගට් එක. right? ඕක තමයි අද මම ඔයාලට කරන්න යන්නේ. හරිද? right? So now your case is live, right? අපි දැන් live ඉන්නේ. හරිද? So what we need to understand is first I'm going to talk about speaking, right? Guys, I'm going to talk about speaking, right? Why I'm talking about speaking first is that speaking is the best way, right? Speaking is the best way to score marks. All right, speaking is the best way to score marks, not other than that, right? Not other than that. Speaking is the best way, because speaking helps you to have a good score. All right, speaking කියන concept එක ඔයාට score එක වැඩි කරගන්න target එකක් විදියට තියෙනවා ඔයාලට දෙන්න. හරි? So what you need to understand is you need to do certain activities to earn it. All right, you have to do certain activities to earn it, right? Without doing anything you cannot do. But what you need to do is you need to have a proper flow, right? Proper flow in what you are saying. All right, a proper flow that should be there. You cannot argue with it. All right, you cannot argue with it, because you need to have a flow in what you are saying. That what you need to understand. All right, ඒක ඔයා අනිවාර්යෙන් මතක තියාගන්න flow එකක් එක්ක යන්න කතා කරන්නේ. Not without a flow. All right, not without a flow. You need to have a flow on what you are saying. So the first challenge which you come across is how to have a flow, right? මම මේක මීට කලින් කරනකොට මම ඔයාලට ස්පීකින් ගැන කියද්දි මම කිව්වා ඔයාලගේ answers දික් කරගන්න විදිය, right? ඔයාලට answers දික් කරගන්න විදිය ටික මම කිව්වා, right? මම ඒක ආයෙ මතක් කරන්නම්. I will give you some summary on it again, right? The first thing which you need to do is to have is to use complex, compound, and simple sentences. Complex, compound, and simple sentences. That's the first thing which you need to do, right? If you do it, right? If you do it, that will be good for you guys. ඒක ඔයාට කරන්න පුළුවන් මුකුත් කරන්න නැතුව. හරිද? ඔයාට ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒක කරන්න ඒ ලකුණක් ගන්න පුළුවන් තැනක් ඒක. Right? So what you have to do is you need to have you need to know the differences between a complex sentence, a compound sentence, and a simple sentence, right? ඒක ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔළුවේ තියන්න. හරිද? The next one is you need to compare and contrast. To compare and contrast, give something about something on compare and contrast cases, right? Compare and contrast cases, because it will help you to extend your answers, right? It will help you to extend your answers. The next case is try to have a give reasons why. Another way of expanding your answers. All right, another way of expanding your answers. So what you need to do is you need to have a proper planning, right? You need to have a proper plan. Actually, not planning, you need to have a proper plan on. Okay, that's what you need to understand, right? That's what you need to understand, please. And when it comes to speaking, all right, the place where you get stuck is, you guys know that you have what? You have 1 minute preparation time, right? When you are in 1 minute preparation time, what you need to do is you need to take notes, right? Just take notes. That's the main thing which you are not doing in a proper way, right? That's why you get stuck when you do something, right? That's why you get stuck. I think you can see this video right now, right? I think you can see something here, right? As soon as you get something like this, what you need to do is you need to take a note in a live manner like this. ඔයා මෙන්න මේ විදිහට note එකක් ගහගන්න. මොකද note එකක් ගහගන්නේ නැතුව පුතා අපි කොහොමද මේ ගමන කරන්නේ? අපි note එකක් ගහගන්න නැතුව මේක කොහොමද කරන්නේ? මම අහන්නේ ඔන්න ඔයාලා. හරිද? ඔය විදියට opening statement එක පළවෙනි එක opening statement එක ලියන්න යන්න බා කොතනද කියලා. You need to remember that. Don't write anything about anything on opening statement when you are writing an answer, taking notes. Note taking all the ඔය වැඩේ කරන්න යන්න එපා. All right? Not taking all the ඔය වැඩේ කරන්න යන්න එපා. So your first discussion point is how old were you when you got it? Right? Describe your first mobile phone you ever owned. Right? You need to talk about your first mobile phone. So what you need to do is, that's your first aim. What you need to do is, that's your first discussion point. You need to take 3 sub-points, which will help you to identify and understand. Okay, explain, right? Explain and elaboration. You need to explain and elaborate. You need to elaborate, right? ඔයා elaborate කරන්න ඕන. ඔයා කියන දේ මොකක් වුණත් ඔයාගේ elaborate කරන්න. Right? You cannot say something and just go on and tell it, right? ඔයාගේ elaborate කරන්න ඕන. පුළුවන් තරම් elaborate කරන්න. Elaborate කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඔයා පුළුවන් තරම් මොකද කරන්න ඕන? පුළුවන් තරම් අමතර විස්තර දෙන්න. Right? පුළුවන් තරම් අමතර විස්තර දෙන්න. That's what you need to do. Right? Elaboration means that. All right? Elaboration කියන්නේ ඒක. You need to do elaboration. Elaboration කරන්න ඕන, what you need to do is you need to have an idea about what you are going to say. Right? ඔයා මේක පිළිබඳව අවබෝධයෙන් ඉන්න ඕන. මොකද්ද මම කරන්න යන්නේ? හරිද? මොකද්ද මම මේකට කරන්න යන්නේ? Right? ඔන්න ඕක ඔයා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ලියන්න. හරිද? ඕක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඔන්න ওই දේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කරන්න. හරිද? ඕක නැති වුණොත් ඔයාට ඔයා අමාරුවට වැටෙනවා. හරිද? So how old were you when you got it? What you need to do is write simple topics. High school, school freshman, teenager, 14 years old, youngest to get it. Simple case, right? A simple case, right? And your second topic is when and why did you buy it? When and why did you buy it? When and why did you buy it? Right? So simple answer in summer. Right? They have given it in summer. Right? In summer. They have given it in simple manner. Right? So then you are coming further. Father.
Oh, yeah, the can.
Father bought it, right? Father bought it for the birthday. Good grades for this school, right? ඔන්න දුන්නා. ඔන්න ඔයා උත්තරයක් දීලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ discuss point 2. How did you feel about it? Right? You were excited, jump around and run out to show up. Right? Our first challenge for you guys. Chandima, are you there? Chandima?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. This is your topic, right? This is your topic. By looking at this note-taking process, can you start?
Without any topic about the mobile phone.
Yeah, the topic is here. Describe your first mobile phone you ever owned. Please say how old were you when you got it? When and why did you buy it? How did you feel when you first got it? ඔයාලා මෙතන තියෙනවා note එක ගහලා. මෙන්න මේ note එක දිහා බලන්න කතා කරන්න. ඒක තමයි challenge එක.
Really, as today I remember when I got my first mobile phone as a gift from my father. Actually, he brought me that because I get a great mark from ordinary level, O level. So it was 2003. That time, I think for Sri Lankan, we had the first time in the colorful display mobile phone. So it's from Nokia 011, something like that. Really, I was surprised and very happy about that gift from my father. That time, very rare in market also, that color display mobile phone. So I enjoyed my life. I share. It's actually that when my father giving that mobile phone, he
Father gave the mobile phone.
sorry.
Father gave the mobile phone.
When my father gave the mobile phone, he insert the dialogue connection SIM. It's on. It can take only 5 numbers, limited numbers to call friends or
It was limited to numbers. 5 numbers.
Limited to 5 numbers. But I enjoyed that. That time we had technology, SMS and call and MMS, something like that. So nowadays it's very developed. So as a very happy and remarkable day in my life.
It was a very happy and remarkable day in my life.
In my life when I got my first mobile phone. Thank you.
Okay. Now what was the mistake which you did? And when Chandra, frankly tell me, when you are looking at this note taking process, is it easy to talk or is it difficult to talk?
Actually, sir, I didn't look at. I take an idea. Just I watch the screen and I take an idea.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty much easy, right? That's
Yes.
pretty much easy. If you have a note, all right. If you have a note, that's pretty much easy to talk, because otherwise you will not be able to give a very good answer, right?
Yeah.
So if I give an answer for this, yeah, talking about mobile phones, that was the modest and that was my favorite topic during my teenage time, because I had I had a dream to buy a mobile phone during my A levels.
Yeah.
I can still remember the first day I got the mobile phone from my father. It was I was a high school freshman, around 18 years, and as I was the youngest in the family, I was very happy about the situation. It was during the summertime where my father bought this phone because I had high marks for my grades. I marks from my school examination, because I can still remember that I had to do all the subjects without teacher, without the help of the teachers, because um, in my school there were no person to teach me language stream, so I had to do it by myself. Because of that, to encourage me a lot, my father gave this mobile phone, and surprisingly, it was it was on my birthday, and it was very rare to have a mobile phone like mobile phone with color display during that time, because it cost a great deal. So he took me to a mobile phone and asked me to take any kind of mobile phone, asked me to select any kind of mobile phone, And I can still remember I selected Sony Ericsson phone, which was a hybrid one, right? Sony and Ericsson. So it was a pretty small phone with GPRS facility and MMS and SMS facilities. Comparing with present phones, it was a very, you know, it was a very simple one. So what I can still remember was it was the first Symbian phone which I got into my hand, and I was pretty much excited about it because the first time I had a Sony Ericsson phone which had infrared facility to transfer data, among other phones. It was pretty much a limited case because you need to keep those phones very close when you are using infrared facility to transfer data. And during that time, it was pretty big deal for me. So I was pretty much excited, right? As I was outside, I couldn't do anything, and as soon as I came home, I can still remember I was like Hussein Bolt, who ran here, like Hussein Bolt. I ran here and there, and showed it to every person in the home because I was pretty much happy as the youngest of the family. I got a Sony Ericsson mobile phone, which was a priceless gift during that time. ඔන්න ඔය වගේ idea එක. Right? ඔය වගේ එක. ඔයාලා මොන දේ කරත් පුතේ මතක තියාගන්න. ඔයාලා ඔය විදියට note taking process එක කරන්නේ නැත්තම්. Right? Note taking process එකේ ඔයාලා යන්නේ නැත්තම් ඔයාලට මේක අමාරු වෙනවා. හරිද? හැමතිස්සෙම ඒකයි මම ඔයාලට insist කරන්නේ, please take notes. Please take notes. Please take notes. Right? That's my sincere request. Please take notes. Right? Don't do any unplanned case. Unplanned case එකක් දෙන්න එපා. Please take notes. Right? That is the first thing which I need to show you. And when it goes to the third step, right? Third step, I mean, where you will be asking more questions. All right, they will ask more follow-up questions, right? Follow-up questions. I will show you a video which will explain what you need to do and how you need to do. Only 4 minutes. Go through this.
Okay, now that you have just finished practicing for part number 2, we're going to move into our explanation of speaking part number 3 and highlight some of the tactics and strategies that are necessary to do well. So, in general, in terms of part number 3 as an overview, the timing, it will take about 3 to 5 minutes to complete this section of the test, so you got to be ready. The purpose, the examiner is really looking for you to reveal the depth of your thoughts. They want to know how well you can really use the English language with these complex, thought-provoking questions that they're going to ask you. Finally, you will only have about 3 to 4 discussion questions, and then the test is over. The examiner is going to review their notes from your performance on all 3 parts. Now, here is some more general information about part number 3. It happens directly after part number 2. Also, is going to be on the same subject as part number 2. If part number 2 was about foreign languages, then part 3 would be about languages. Also, the question types are different than part number 1. In part number 1, the questions were very direct. In part number 3, the questions are much more complex. They really ask you to really speak in abstract terms very often. If you really want to score well on part number 3, show that you can handle talking about abstract concepts and using abstract vocabulary. That's going to really, really impress the examiner. Now, the 3 main question types that you're going to have for part number 3 will deal with an opinion question. Should parents be required to take classes before having children? An imagination question. What do you think child rearing will be like 50 years from now? Or even a compare and contrast question. How do parents today compare with parents in the past? All right, in part number 3, here are some tips and advice that can be very helpful to you. Now, as opposed to part number 1, in part number 3, you can clarify. You can ask the grader, can you say that question again, or can you clarify what you mean by that? Also, as this has applied to all 3 parts, please use topic-specific vocabulary. That's very, very important. Recognize when there are tense changes. Sometimes in part 3, they'll ask you a question about the past, and you have to use the past tense. And then in the very next question, they'll ask you about the future. Make sure you pay attention and keep really good eye contact, because this is a discussion, which means that the examiner can jump in and ask you a question. So you have to look at their body language and know when they want to ask you a question. So you need to wrap up your answer. Also, to do well on part number 3, constantly explain why. Every answer deserves a why, and that follow-up explanation deserves a why. You explain why. You give examples. You give alternatives to what your answer would be, to really explain and extend your answers out. So here you're going to see just an example of the kind of language that might be involved in a part
Right.
3 response.
හරි part 3 එක ගැන කතා කරනකොට අපිට පළවෙනි දේ තමයි අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕන අපෙන් අහන question types වර්ග තුනක් තියෙනවා. right? මෙන්න මේ question types ටික අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් මතක තියාගන්න ඕන. පළවෙනි question type එක තමයි opinion questions. right? They might ask your opinion. You need to understand whether they are asking the opinion or not. Right? Imaginary questions where they will ask you something pretty much imaginary. All right? Pretty much imaginary. So what you need to do is you need to talk about that by coming to such kind of situation, right? That's the first thing you need to do, right? And the compare and contrast question. They will ask compare and contrast cases, and they will ask you to give more details on that, right? Give more details on that. So what you need to understand is you need to have a better understanding about how to deal with them, right? A compare and contrast one. For an example, compare and contrast one. They might ask you a question like this: how do parents today compare with the parents in the past? Simple one, right? But you need to elaborate. All right, as elaboration is the first place which you need to remain, right? මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නවලදී මේ ප්‍රශ්න තුනේදීම පුතා elaboration කරන එක තමයි first case එක, right? That's the first case which you need to remember. You need to elaborate on what you're saying, right? You need to elaborate on what you say. You without doing an elaboration, don't do anything, right? Elaboration එකක් කරන්න නැතුව හරිද මේ දේ යන්න එපා. You are not in a position to do it. හරිද? ඔයා position එකක ඉන්න එකක් නැහැ මේ දේ කරන්න. All right? So be in a position, right? Be in a position to do this. That's what I need you to do, right? Task 3 එකේදී ඔය ප්‍රශ්න ටික දිහා බලන්න. අහන ප්‍රශ්නේ මොකක්ද කියන එක බලන්න. හරිද? Imaginary එකකට compare contrast කරන්න යන්න එපා. Compare contrast එකට imaginary විදිහට දෙන්න එපා. Opinion එකකට imaginary විදිහට දෙන්න එපා. ඒක හොඳට ඔළුවේ තියන්න. හරිද? So you need to clarify everything, right? You need to not clarify, you need to classify everything. As soon as they ask a question, you need to classify what to which question category is this belong, right? So you cannot simply give a very pretty nasty answer for them, right? What you need to remember is they will ask direct question from you. Your questions will be direct, right? They will be asking direct questions. So what you need to do is you need to give direct answer. So when they are asking, doing it, for that, what you need to do, understand is you need to compare. You need to have a better understanding about what type of questions are they actually asking from. You need to have an ability to classify it within simple, within a short period of time, right? Within a short period of time, you need to do that. All right. And when it comes to this case, right? What you need to understand is the first one is topic specific vocabulary. You need to use topic specific vocabulary, right? Your vocabulary should be specific, right? Right? You cannot use any kind of word which is not relevant to what you are saying. හරිද? ඔයාලාට බෑ හිතට එන එකේ ආපු එකක් relevant නැති එකක් නැතට කියන්න බෑ. topic specific vocabulary එකට තමයි ඔයාලාට ගොඩක් ලකුණු හම්බ වෙන්නේ. හරිද? ගොඩක් ලකුණු හම්බෙන්නේ ඔන්න ඕකට. හරිද? ඒ නිසා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම topic specific vocabulary කියන concept එකේ ඉන්න. right? ඒ වගේම ඔයාලා ඊළඟට කරන්න ඕන recognize the tense change, right? You need to identify the tense change when it's going to change, right? What is the change? What is the tense which you need to give, right? මොකද්ද tense එක පාවිච්චි කරන යන tense එක මොකද්ද කියන එක ටක් ගාලා identify කරගන්න. මොකද ඔයාගෙන් අහන ප්‍රශ්නට අනුව ඔයාගේ tense එක වෙනස් වෙනවා. You need to understand that tense change, right? ඔයා tense change එක ටක් ගාලා ගන්නවා. ඔයා tense එක විතරයි පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ. වෙන tenses ඔයාලා පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ. okay? ඕක මතක තියාගන්න. හරිද? ඕක හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. You cannot use any other tense. For present tense, you need to use present. For past tense, you need to use past. Right? ඕක ඔළුවේ තියාගෙන ඉන්න. හරිද? ඒ වෙන tenses වල පාවිච්චි කරනවා. ඒක තමයි අපෙන් වෙන වැරද්ද. ඕක තමයි අපෙන් වෙන වැරද්ද. We do mistakes like this. So please be careful. ඊළඟ එක තමයි consistently explain why. හරිද? පුළුවන් තරම් ඇයි කියන ප්‍රශ්නට උත්තරේ. පුළුවන් තරම් ඇයි කියලා අහනකොට උත්තර දෙන්න. ඇයි කියලා කියන්නේ. right? පුළුවන් තරම් ඒ දේ කරන්න. Because it will give you an opportunity to give further more details. හරිද? තවත් එහාට ඔයාලා details දෙන්න ඔයාලට chance එකක් හම්බ වෙයි. හරිද? So please follow these cases when you are doing this. හරිද? මේක කරනකොට මේ cases follow කරන්න. මොකද මේක තමයි ඔයාලගේ පළවෙනි game එක වෙන්න ඕන answer එකක් දෙන්නට. හරිද? ඔන්න ඔය system එකේ දුවන්න. හැමතිස්සෙම ඔය system එකට යන්න. ඔය system එකෙන් තමයි ඔයාලට පුළුවන් marks score කරගන්න. right? Marks score කරගන්න. But if you're not going to follow it, right? I know that your answer will be no. You will limit to 4.5. හරිද? ඒ නිසා changes කරන්න පුළුවන් තරම් changes කරන්න. say අර වාක්‍ය ඩික් කරගන්න පුළුවන් තරම් try එක දෙන්න. හරිද? ඒ system වලින් ඔයාලගේ explanation වැඩි කරගන්න. ඒ දේ කරොත් ඔයාලට marks ගන්න එක අමාරු දෙයක්. හරිද? ඒ නිසා marks ගන්න පුළුවන් තරම් අන්නේ system. ඔයාලට ලස්සනට මේ වැඩේ කොට දාගන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. මොකද it will let you to gain more confidence when you are facing a situation like this. හරිද? ඔයාලා හිර වෙන්න ඕන ඕනේ තැන. කතා කරන්න ගියාට ඔයාලගේ balance එකක් නැතුව ඔයගොල්ලෝ දුවන. balance එකක් නැතුව යන නිසා ඒ balance එක අඩු නිසා ඔයාලගේ balance එකේ ප්‍රශ්නය නිසා ඔයාලට ගලපන්න. හරිද? ඒ නිසා balance කරගන්න කියන දේ. කියන දේ මොකක් වුණත් balance කරගෙන යන්න. If you do it, You can. Right? හරිද? ඒ නිසා මතක ඇතුව ඔය දේවල් කරන්න. හරිද? Right. Let's go further. Here you have sample answer, right? So when you are talking, this is what you need to do. In his speaking, especially in his speaking only, මෙන්න මේ දේ තමයි ඔයාලා කරන්න ඕන. හරිද? මේ දේ කරගත්තේ නැති වුණොත් ලෝක අමාරුවට වැටෙනවා. හරි? ඔයාලට සස්කියාගේ answers පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න අන්න හොඳම answer set එක. හරිද? අන්න හොඳම answer set එක. හොඳටම තියෙන answer set එකක් තමයි ඒ තියෙන්නේ. Right? Speaking tips and advices 1.
Hi there. In this lecture, we're going to be going over some really good advice, tips, strategies, and advice that cover all three parts of the IELTS speaking test. You're going to hear some great advice from some examiners, former examiners on the IELTS, and they're going to give you some really, really good advice I'm going to share with you. And then also you're going to get my expert advice on the speaking section. So let's go ahead and move forward. Make sure that you're taking notes, and let's go ahead and really take this in, because I want you guys to do a great job on the IELTS speaking section. And the key to doing that is being able to master and apply this advice you're going to get in this lecture. So part 1 is known to be pretty easy. It's basically a warm-up. But I would say that you have to really, really do well in part number 1. A lot of students mess up because they just start off very, very slowly. And that's a big, big mistake. You want to be able to start off in part number 1 and do well right away. Part number 2, from the different examiners that I've talked to over the years, is where they really get a chance to see how good you can speak, how well you can speak. Part number 2 is really the score determiner. So if you want to do well on the speaking section, if you want to move up into that band 8, band 9 section or realm, according to the rubric, do great at part 2. Part 2 impresses them. Part number 3, they're making their final decision. You know, if you do a great job on part number 3, that might give you that little bit of extra boost to push you where you need to be able to go. Now, here's some more just, again, basic general advice about the different sections. In part number 1, what you want to do, give a direct answer, extend it, and then explain. Then stop, smile, show the examiner that you're ready to move on to the next question. Don't just ramble on and on and on and on, and where the examiner has to stop you every single time. In part number 2, one of the best ways to think about it is that you're telling a story, right? Tell a story, and keep in mind the truth does not matter. They're grading you on how you say something, not what you say. In part number 3, some really good advice, just practice writing out your answers. Write out your answers, and when you write out your answers, include some of the natural fluency markers when you're doing your writing. In addition, to do well on part number 3, practice with a partner. Practice being able to give those really extended answers in part number 3. The questions in part 1 and part 3 are similar, except in part 3, the questions are longer and they have more complex vocabulary. So in part number 3, you're expected to answer directly, extend your answer again, and then maybe explain or give an alternative scenario to extend that answer. They really are looking for you to give deep, well thought out answers. Again, it's not about the ideas. You have to be within the context of the question, but It's all about how you say it. Now, let's go ahead and move on and talk about a few more things that could be helpful to you during the IELTS speaking section. Sometimes students ask me, is it okay to ask them to repeat a question? Yes, it's okay. But you cannot do that 4 and 5 times. Can you please repeat that? Could you please say that question again for me? If you're always doing that, it's going to seem like you don't understand English very well. If you do it once or twice, that's okay. I mentioned earlier about speaking spontaneously. You know, the graders are not going to be impressed. They are going to be very impressed if you're using speech that shows automaticity, right? That shows that you can speak spontaneously. Speaking spontaneously sounds more natural. I can always tell when a student is really memorizing or giving a memorized answer. Now, at the top here, you see that I have something about speaking with abstract nouns and ideas. Using abstract nouns and ideas is a really good way to show the grader that you have very strong vocabulary. There's a great video on this, and I mentioned it at the top, that talks about abstract nouns and ideas. First impressions. Examiners are human beings, which means that they can be impressed. And so your first impression is really important. If you really start off just with a strong start, that's going to stay with the examiner throughout the rest of your speaking test. And finally, be emotional in your speaking. Native speakers have an emotional content when they're speaking.
right. මෙයා මෙතන කියන්නේ හැම තිස්සම අපි කරන්න ඕන දේවල් ටික. හරිද? ගොඩක් ඔයාලගේ එක දෙයක් මතක තියාගන්න repetition කරන්න එපා. හරිද? Repetitions, no repetitions at all. Right? And if you need to clarify, yes, you can, but don't try to ask it again and again from the person. Right? All right? My emotional කියන එක නම් මම එච්චර මේකක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ, but when you මේ කාලේ ගොඩක් අය කරන දේ තමයි මකාගේ පොතේ තියෙන උත්තර ටික බලාගෙන ගියාම ඇතිද කියලා අහනවා. Right? ගොඩක් අය ওই දේ අහනවා. My sincere request is not to do it. Right? If you can do that, but don't try to memorize it. Right? මකාගේ පොතේ තියෙන හැමදේම memorize කරගෙන දුවන්න එපා. Right? ඒ memorization එක memorize කරගෙන ඔයාලා යනවා නම් එතන ඉන්න අයට ටග් ගාලා අහුවෙනවා. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිට වඩා කවුද? අපිට වඩා කනවල් වලින් රිංගපු කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ. ඒ නිසා එයාලට ටග් ගාලා අහුවෙනවා. අපි පැන්නොත් ඒ කියන්නේ අපි දෙයක් කටපාඩම් කරගෙන ආවොත් එයාලට ඒක ටග් ගාලා අහුවෙනවා. ඉතින් එහෙම ටග් ගාලා අහුනොත් ඒක ඔයාලට හොඳ නැහැ. Right? So my sincere request not to not to go through not to memorize all the points which are there in Maka's book. Right? Yes, you can go through that. To have an idea, you can go. Not an issue. To have an idea, you can go. But don't try to memorize it. Right? Never ever try to memorize that, because if you try to memorize it, that means you are done and dusted. Right? Because they know whether you have prepared yourself or you have not prepared yourself, or you have prepared yourself. Right? එයාලා දන්නවා ඔයා ලෑස්ති වෙලාද ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. ලෑස්ති වෙලාද කටපාඩම් කරලාද උත්තරේ දෙන්නේ කියන එක එයාලා පැහැදිලිව දන්නවා. හරිද? ඉතින් ඒ පැහැදිලිව දන්න දේක අපිට බෑ එයාලව මේව කරන්න. So please කරුණා කරලා ඒ දේ නම් කරගන්න එපා. මොකද ඒ දේ කරගත්තොත් අපිට ගොඩ ඒමක් මේ කපේදී ගොඩ දාගන්න බෑ අපිට. Right? අපිට මේ කපේ ඕක ගොඩ ගෙන්න බැරි වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා memorization කියන concept එකේ දුවන්න එපා. No. All right? Never memorization කියන concept එකේ දුවන්න එපා. Because that will definitely do a harm to you. All right, that will definitely do a harm to you. Okay, please, a request from my side. So never do it. Right, never do it. කවදාවත් කරන්න එපා memorization එක ගිහිල්ලා වැඩේ කරන්න යන්න එපා. Right, you'll not be able to score marks. Right, ඔයාට marks ටික score කරගන්න වෙන එකක් නැහැ ඒ විදියට ගියොත්. All right, remember that. And when you go forward in this, what you need to do is, don't try to be a smart person, right? Don't try to be a smart person by acting like a smart person. ඒ මොකද්ද ඒ කිව්වේ? ඒ මොකද්ද ඒ කිව්වේ? ඒකෙන් කියන එකෙන් මම අදහස් කරේ එන්න මේ වගේ දෙයක්. ඔයා කවදාවත් මිමික් එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයා යන්න එපා act කරන්න. හරිද? act කරන්න යන්න එපා. right? act කරන්න එපා කවුරු වගේද? කවුරු වගේද act කරන්න එපා කියලා කියන්නේ? මෙතන act කරන්න එපා කියලා කියන්නේ foreigner කෙනෙක් වගේ කතා කරන්න යන්න එපා. which will not work to you. Try to speak with punctuation. හරිද? punctuation කියන විදිය පෙන්නන්න. speak ඒ දේ කරන්න. ඒ දේ කරන්න නොකර හිටියත් ඔයාලගෙන් යනවා. හරිද? now what you need to have next is, my thing is, you need to have a recovery plan if you fell down. හරිද? ඔයා කතා කර ඉඳද්දි එක තැනකදීම ඔයා කඩාගෙන වැටුනොත් එක සැරේට, you need to have a recovery plan how to recover yourself. right, it should be with you. හරිද? ඒක ඔයාගාව තියෙන්න ඕන. ඔයා recovery එක ගහගන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒක ඔයාට අග්ගාලා ඔයා හිතාගෙන ඉන්නවනවා මෙහෙම වැටුනොත් මම මෙහෙම මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? right, if you don't have a recovery plan, you cannot take you up when you fell, when you crash land. right, when you do if you are going to do a crash landing, you cannot do it. right, you cannot take it out. I mean, if you don't have a plan, right, if you don't have a plan, if you are in a stall, right, if you are in a stall mood without a plan, you will not be able to recover your flight, and it will definitely do a crash landing, none other than any other case. right, now or කොහේ land කරන්න හදුවත් ඔයා plan එකක් නැතුව ගිහලා ඔයා stall වුණොත්, right, stall වෙනවා කියන්නේ ඔයා එතනින් එහාට ඔයාට recover කරගන්න විදියක් නැති වෙනවා. right, so have a plan on it. Learn how to recover. It depends on you. right, when you mess up, as almost every student does at some point, you must good at coming back. right, I අනිත් පැත්තට එන්න විදිය ඔයා දැනගෙන ඉන්න. ඔයා ඒක කරගන්න. නැති වුණොත් ප්‍රශ්නයක්. හරිද? ඒ නිසා මේ දේවල් ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න. හරිද? මේ දේවල් ටික හරියට කියොත් ඔයාලට මේක කරගන්න අමාරු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ තියන්නේ speaking examiner advices. You need to give examples, right? When if you say something, if you say something, you need to give an example. You cannot just say, right? Example like that. Try to use complex sentences, right? Try to use complex sentences, but don't try to use slangs in your story. Slangs පාවිච්චි කරන්න එපා ඔයගේ story එකේ, which will not going to work at all. right, and don't say no at any cost. හරිද? don't say no at any cost. එක තැනකදීවත් කියන්න එපා no කියලා දෙන්න එපා. right? You can't say no. Try to give the answer. All right, try to give the answer, please. Try your best. Okay, don't do any kind of repetitions. All right, no repetitions at all. එකම දේ කියන්න එපා repeat කර කර, which will not give you a chance to do what, to score marks. Marks නම් හම්බ වෙන එකක් නෑ repetition කරොත්. හරිද? And your next case, idioms and figures of speech. Right? Proper use of idioms. හරිද? idioms පාවිච්චි කරනවා නම් තේරුම පිළිබඳව දැනුවත් වෙලා පාවිච්චි කරන්න. Proper use of idioms. Right? You need to have it. Idiom එක පාවිච්චි කරනවා නම් idiom එකේ meaning එක හරියට ගලපන්න. හරිද? idiom එකේ meaning එක හරියට ගලපලා වැඩේ කරන්න. ඒක ඔයාලා දන්නේ නැත්තම්, right? If you don't know the meaning, all right? If you don't know the meaning, don't try to use it, because if you try to use it, right? If you try to use it to impress your listener, it will not going to work if you used it incorrectly, right? And when you are talking, please be careful about your examiner, because try to understand his body language, because you need to identify when he is going to ask another question from you. Again, that question you need to have understanding. All right, please pay your attention on it. Right, then comes time management. Time management is the crucial factor. You need to know when to stop. All right, you need to know when to stop and how to stop. Right? ඔයා දැනගන්න ඕන කොහොමද පටන් ගන්නෙ, කොහොමද ඔයා දෙයක් ඉවර කරන්න කියන ඔන්න concept එක ඔයාගේ අතේ තියෙන්න. Without that, no, you will be done and dusted. Please guys, please, this is a request from you, right? This is a request from my side. Please do this. All right, next one, in part 2, examiner advice. Part 2 is when I start thinking about this course. This is crucial to fill the terms of time. Time එක අනිවාර්යෙන් time එක ගැන අවධානය යොමු. ඔයාට සිද්ධ වෙනවා විනාඩි දෙකක් කතා කරන්න. Right? ඔයාට සිද්ධ වෙනවා විනාඩි දෙකක් කතා කරන්න. So you need to be careful on it. මගින් නවත්තන්න එපා, you are penalized. හරිද? You are penalized. මගින් නැවතුනොත් you are penalized. You are done. So don't try to stop before 2 minutes. හරිද? 2 minute වලින් යන්න නවත්ත ගන්න try කරන්න එපා. ඒ වගේම කතා කරද්දී මතක තියාගන්න, what you need to remember is try to use all the minutes, right? දොර කඩාගෙන දුවන්න එපා. ඔයාලා කඩාගෙන යන්න ගියොත්, හරිද? ඔයා කඩාගෙන යන්න ගියොත් ඔයාට උත්තරේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම උත්තරේ එහාට මෙහාට වෙන්න ඉඩ කඩක් තියෙනවා. හරිද? ඒ නිසා ඒ විදිහට යන්නේ නැතුව එමීට යන්න. හරිද? ඒ විදිහට යන්නේ නැතුව එමීට යන්න, කඩාගෙන දුවන්නේ නැතුව. හරිද? කඩාගෙන යන්න ගියොත් ඔයාට කියන්න දේවල් නැති වෙනවා. හරිද? ඔයාට කියන්න දේවල් නැති වෙයි. ටිකක් දුර යනකොට. ඒ නිසා එහෙම යන්න එපා. එමින් කියන්න. එතකොට ඔයාට පුළුවන් විනාඩි දෙක පාවිච්චි කරන්න. හරිද? Grammar. Please be careful about your grammar case. හරිද? grammar පැත්ත ගැන සෑහෙන පරිස්සමෙන් යන්න. හරිද? proper tense එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න. tenses මාරු කරන්න එපා. tenses mix කරගන්න එපා. ඒ නිසා properly යන්න. හරි විදියට properly යන්න. All right. All right. At any cost. Don't ask me at the end of the test if you do it well or bad. ඔයා ටෙස්ට් එක ඉවර අවසාන වෙලා කවදාවත් වගේ එක්සැමිනර්ගෙන් ඒ වෙලාවේ don't try to take any point of view, right? ඒ වෙලාවේ ඔය උත්තර අහන්න යන්න එපා. කොහොමද මං හරිද හොඳද ඒ දේවල් කරන්න එපා. Be like that, right? Pretty man, go away, right? Pretty man, go away. Read කරන්න එළියට බහින්න. එච්චරයි. All right. Don't try to ask any opinion from, right? Answer to general questions. What if I don't understand the question? You need to ask, listen to this from this point on.
I'm going to really wonder if you really should be doing the IELTS exam right now at this time. But if you don't understand it, really kind of look at the topic of the question and try to give some answer regarding the topic of the question. You're going to be hurt a little bit because you didn't answer the question specifically, but that's the best advice I can give you. What template phrases can I use to score high? There are no template phrases you can use, okay? Examiners recognize templates. They recognize it. It sounds prepared. And they don't like it. I'm telling you, they do not like it. What if I forget how to pronounce a word? Well, if you don't use it, number one. If you don't know how to pronounce a word properly, don't use it. Don't say it. Okay? You can always just describe the word or use a simpler word or use a synonym of the word. How should I start my answer? Well, I mean, that's a really difficult question to answer in terms of how should I start my answer. Really, the best advice I can say is paraphrase the question, right? Paraphrase the question. Be direct. Be very direct. Paraphrase the question, be very direct, explain. How can I know the correct answer? There is no correct answer, right? There can be 1,000 different answers to a question. There is no correct answer. So if you're focusing on what's the correct answer, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Now, let's talk about something that's very serious. And what I'm talking about here is overcoming test anxiety. Test anxiety, right? A lot of students, they say, oh, I'm so nervous. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so nervous. And when you have that kind of anxiety going into an exam, you're just you're just really setting yourself up for disaster. These are here on this page. This is just some general advice.
ගොඩක් වටිනා තැනක් මේ තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? මෙන්න මේක මම හිතන්නේ ඔයාලා ලියන්න යන ගොඩක් අයට right මේක ගොඩක් වැදගත්. How to minimize the anxiety. මේක නම් හොඳ මාතෘකාවක්. මොකද ඔයාලා ගොඩක් අය අනගන්න තැනක්. හරි මම මේක දැකලා තියෙන තැන. ගොඩක් අය මෙතන යනවා. Right? So what you need to do is develop a pre-test routine, right? Anxiety එක control කරගන්න නම් you need to have a pre-test routine. Or routine එකක් ඇතුළත වань, right? Study similar places. මේකට එන්න පුළුවන් දේවල් දිහා බලන්න. Physical exercises and try to balance it. Visualize success. Eliminate self-talking, right? Eliminate කරන්න self හිතින් කියවනේ. Learn relaxation techniques, right? Relaxation techniques ටික යා පොඩ්ඩක් හොඳට අහුම්කන් දීලා බලාගෙන ඉන්න. මොකද මේක ගොඩක් වටිනවා ඔයාලට. මේ තැන්වලදී ඔයාලා අමාරුවේ වැටෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ දේ නිසා. මෙන්න මේ concept එක. හරිද? මෙන්න මේ anxiety කියන concept එක තමයි ඔයාලව විනාශ කරන පළවෙනිම තැන. Right? You are thinking too much. Right? Thinking too much. You are anxious about what you are. මෙන්න මේ වගේ තැනකට මුහුණ දුන්නොත් හරිද? ඔයාලා කොච්චර ස්පීකින් පැත්ත දැනගෙන හිටියත් ඔයාලට මේක කරන්න අමාරු වෙනවා. So you need to have a separate technique to calm down yourself. Right? කොච්චර හොඳට ඉංග්‍රීසි දැනගෙන ඉන්න කෙනෙක්ට වුණත් එකපාරට ඔයාලව හිර කරන්න පුළුවන්. තැනක් තමයි question එකකට answer එක වර්ධින. Right? Question එකට answer එක වර්ධින ඔයාලට. ඔයාලට අක් ගාලා හිර වෙනවා. ඇයි? You are what? You are anxious on what you are doing. You are anxious on what you are doing. කලබලෙන් ඉන්නේ. හරිද? කලබලෙන් ඉන්නේ. කලබලෙන් ඉන්නකොට ඔයාලට මේක කරගන්න බෑ. So what you need to do is, if you face a situation like this, try to calm down yourself. පොඩ්ඩක් calm down කරගන්න try කරන්න. ඒකට වෙනම techniques තියෙනවා. ඒ techniques ටික පොඩ්ඩක් underline කරගෙන තියාගන්න. මොකද this is going to be very crucial for you. ඔයාලට මේක ගොඩක් වැදගත් වෙයි. හරිද? මේක හරියට කරගත්තේ නැති වුණා. හරිද? අපි අමාරුවේ වැටෙනවා. ඊළඟට අපි බලමු අපිට මොනවද ඉල්ලන්නේ හොඳ තැනකට යන්න අවශ්‍ය නම්. පළවෙනි එක තමයි fluency band descriptor analyze කරනවා. මෙන්න ඒක.
Hello, and thank you for joining us in this speaking section of our course. In these next 4 lectures, we're going to be covering the different band descriptors that you're graded on for the speaking section. For the IELTS exam, in regards to the speaking, you are marked or graded on your fluency and coherence, your lexical ability, which means vocabulary, grammar accuracy, and also your pronunciation. So in this lecture right now, we're going to go over the qualities that will make up a really good fluency score. In order to do that, I'm going to really break down and explain to you what this section of the rubric means. That way, you'll know what you need to do to be able to score very well. Okay? Let's start. So, first of all, when we're talking about fluency and coherence, fluency refers to how well you can talk without pausing or hesitation or interruption. That's what fluency is. So if you're talking and there are a lot of when you're doing that, or you have a lot of pausing in your speech, then that's going to hurt your fluency. Coherence is a little bit different. Okay, it's a little bit different. Coherence really deals with how well your ideas make sense together. Okay? Now, you've heard me say before, they're not grading you on what you say, but they are grading you on if your ideas actually fit together. Okay? Do your ideas fit together? So really understanding the difference between fluency and coherence and what they mean is very, very helpful. That's why I'm always trying to caution a student from really rambling on, especially in section 1. Some students just ramble on and on and on, and eventually what ends up happening is your ideas lose their coherence. They stop fitting together. They stop making sense together, and you're hurting your grade. Now, here is just, this is
ඔන්න ඔයගොල්ලොන්ට එන්න ඕන තැන. හරිද? මම ඔන්න ඔතෙන් එන්නකම් හිටියේ. Band is score 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? In the terms of fluency, right? From the terms of fluency and coherence, the band 6-1, right? It's willing to speak at length, right? You need to speak at length. What 6 ඔන්න කරන්න ඕන දේවල් ටික මේ දෙන්නේ. හරිද? මේ තියෙන්නේ what you need to do. හරිද? Though may you lose coherence at times due to occasional repetition, self-correction, or hesitation, use a range of cohesive and discourse markers, but not always appropriately. මෙන්න ඔයා band 6 නම් ඔන්න ඕකයි ඔයාට වෙන්නේ. ඔයාගේ ඔන්න වෙන දේ. හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයා මේකේ අනිත් පැත්ත තමයි කරන්නේ. band 6 ගන්න නම් ඔන්න කරන්න ඕන දේවල්. හරිද? You need to speak in length. Right? You need to speak in length. If you need band 6, it's okay. You can lose the coherence and cohesion by doing repetition here and there. Either and either you can do that. Right? Either and either you can do that. True. I accept. Right? True. I accept. But not at all the times. Right? You can make self-correction. Right? Self-correction කරගන්න පුළුවන්. හැමතැනම නෙමෙයි. හරිද? අහෙම band 6 වලට නම් ඔයාලට වුණනම් self-correction කරන්න ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි ඔයාලා මේ දේවල් නොකරනවා නම් මේට වඩා හොඳ band එකකට යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා මම. Right? Connectives. Try to use conjunctions appropriately. All right? Appropriate conjunction must be used. And discourse markers. Discourse markers කියලා කියන්නේ අපි වචන සම්බන්ධ කරගන්න පාවිච්චි කරන ක්‍රමය. Right? අපි discourse markers කියලා ගැහුවොත් ඉන්ටර්නෙට් වල ගොඩක් ඒවා එනවා. හරිද? ඒවා හරියට පාවිච්චි කරන්න. හරිද? Discourse markers කියලා කිව්වොත් marker is a word or a phrase that plays a role in the meaning of the flow of the of the structure. හරිද? structure එකේ structure එක රඳා පවත්වා ගන්න පාවිච්චි කරන වචන වලට තමයි අපි මේ කියන්නේ. So you need to use them appropriately. හරියට පාවිච්චි කරන්න. වැරදියට නෙමෙයි හරියට. Right? Yes, you can make mistakes here and there if you need only band 6. But එහෙම මෙහෙන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. වැරදියට පාවිච්චි කරගන්න පුළුවන්. If you need band 6, right? If you are in need of a band 7, right? If you are in need of a band 7, all right, what you need to do is speak at length without noticeable effort or loss of coherence. හරිද? ඔයා වැඩේ මේව කරගන්න නැතුව හරිද? මේ වැඩේ අනගන්නේ නැතුව all right? coherence කියන එක දෙන්න දීලා without making repetition, right? Without making repetition වැඩේ කරන්න. හරි? ඔන්න කරන්න ඕන දේ. Okay. Demonstrate length of the length එක. හරිද? demonstrate කරන්න length එක. හරිද? ඔයා යන්න ඕන විදිය demonstrate කරලා පෙන්නන්න. අන්න මේ වගේ දේවල් යන්නේ. Use a range of connectives. හරිද? With flexibility. Flexible විදියට පාවිච්චි කරන්න. If you need a band 7. If you need band 7, this is what you need to do. Band 8. It speaks fluently with only occasional repetition. ඔයාට band 8 නම් ඕන occasional repetition, right? Occasional repetition, not anything. It should be occasional. All right? It should be occasional. You need to be vigilant. අනිවාර්යෙන් එහෙමම යන්න ඕන. repetition කරන්න පුළුවන් අහෙන් මෙහෙන් විතර. හරි? අහෙන් මෙහෙන් repetitions කරන්න. හැමදාම repetitions කරන්න යන්න එපා. Right? Self correction අහෙන් මෙහෙන් දෙන්න. හරිද? හැමදාම කරන්න යන්න. Right? This is what you need to do. And only rarely to search for language rarely language errors kara, right? Rarely language errors, not here every time. Okay, and stay on the topic. And in band 9, don't do repetitions, no correction, self correction, no hesitation, right? Proper use of grammar, all right, as well as proper use of word selection, right? proper use of word selection. Okay. Those are the things which you need to remember. All right. This is what we need to do in fluency and coherence.
This is directly using a lot of complex speaking causes you problems.
General band
Now,
descriptors, right? High band fluency coherence. So low band fluency coherence. මේ දෙකේ වෙනස පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. High band එකේදී නම් rare occasional self correction. Use a lot of repetition. නවත්තන්න ඕන තැන්. Right? ඊට පස්සේ hesitation contemplated not words. අපි අහිම්මෙන් content එකට relate වෙන්නේ නැති word ගන්න. Slow in speech, complex speaking causing problems. හරිද? හැබැයි උතන එක වෙනම දෙයක්. Range of connectivities and discourse matter. Inappropriate use of connectivities. Connection. හරිද? ඔන්න ඕවා මතක තියාගන්න. හරිද? High score fluency coherence. Same speed as native speakers. No effort made. Right? Easily shifting sentence. Tenses. Tenses easily එහාට මෙහාට මාරු වෙනවා. Right? Easily එහාට මෙහාට යනවා. Same speed. මම කියන්නේ same speed යන්නේ කියලා native speaker කෙනෙක් ඔය කලාගෙන කතා කරන්න කියලා මම කියන්නේ මොකද it will definitely be a problem. Right? අපි ඒක හරියට plan කරලා ගියේ නැතිනොත් right? That is going to be a utmost problem to you. So I'm not recommending that, but try to do without it, try to manage, right? Slow in creating sentences, right? Slow in creating sentences. Poor orthodoxy and poor grammar, right? Watch this.
when I'm talking about speed, I'm not talking about speaking really, really fast. Because very often that's what some people think. It means speaking really, really fast. Most native speakers don't really speak very fast. Okay? So it doesn't mean speaking really fast, because when you do that, very often you lose you really hurt your pronunciation. In terms of low fluency scores, when it comes to speed, if you're really slow in creating your sentences, or if you have really poor automaticity, which means that it takes a while for the word to come from your head to out of your mouth. This happens a lot when people are translating from their native tongue into English. Now, are your ideas logical and easy to follow? Are they logical and easy to follow? Right? When you're speaking, I hear people speak sometimes, and then by the time they finish their sentence, I have no idea what they were talking about, because it logically is not put together very well, right? Or it's not easy to follow. If you're speaking and you're talking like this, I like music because it's a great way for me to be able to relax and take my mind off of things, right? That sentence becomes really hard to follow. It becomes really, really hard to follow. In terms of where you see this a lot, in terms of a low score, in terms of fluency, in terms of logic and easy to follow, it really happens in part number 2. That's where I really hear from students where there are a lot of gaps in their reasoning and their logic. There's no order, right? There's poor connection of the ideas. It really shows up in part number 2. And that's why part number 2 is so important so impressive to a lot of graders. Can you speak without much effort? Right? What they mean by this in terms of a high score is your answer not broken or self-interrupted? Again, low score is all the ums and hesitations. So How can you increase your fluency and coherence? Number one, use some great discourse markers. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. Of course, your repetition and speed. Learn some phrases so you can be able to extend your answers. In fact, as a matter of fact, what I mean by that is, right? Learn some phrases that will help you to extend your answers. When you're able to extend your answers, it shows more fluency. And then also decrease the hesitation and the pausing. Record yourself. Listen to yourself. Say it again. Keep saying it over and over and over until you can get through a sentence without the pausing and hesitation. That's why also in one of the earlier videos I mentioned about you speaking English almost 24 hours a day, 2 or 3 weeks before you take the exam. Speak English. Now, some people might say to me, well, I don't have anybody at home to speak English with. Sometimes you just have to maybe go to people in your family and just tell them, hey, you're going to ask me a question sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to answer that question in English. I know you're not going to understand me. I know you're not going to have any idea what I'm saying, but I just have to practice answering sometimes in English. And then, of course, you could answer again, in your native tongue. But just that's what you have to do sometimes, right? Make the best of your situation. Everybody doesn't have a perfect situation. And what you have to do is make the best of the situation that you have. Now, here are some general discourse markers. As I was saying, anyway, here the thing is, to tell you the truth at the end of the day, right? These are different common discourse markers. Now, with discourse markers, it needs to be natural, okay? Don't force it. And don't say a discourse marker. You don't have to say a discourse marker in every sentence. Now, in some of the examples that I'm going to give you, you might see me use a discourse marker, in 2 or 3 different sentences. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm just trying to show you how a lot of them are used in context. But what I'm telling you, and I want you to listen very, very closely, is that I don't want you using them too many. Don't overuse them. The graders don't like that. Okay? Many times what you're doing is you're just showing the ability. You're revealing, hey, I can do this. And then you know what else? I can do that. Okay? Here's an example of some discourse markers in context. Right? So the first question says, does your name have any special meaning? Well, actually, it does. Naima is an Arabic name that means paradise. Next question. What are some places of interest in your town? To tell you the truth, Marrakesh has too many exciting features to name. The primary reason that visitors come to Marrakesh is for the Medina. In addition, some tourists use Marrakesh as a launching point to visit the desert located in Merzouga. Do you like your hometown? Certainly. I love Marrakesh. Actually, we have the best of both worlds in that a visitor can experience the old Amazigh way of life in the nearby villages and take part in the modernization that has occurred in Marrakesh. So the purpose of this was just to really show you how you use some of these discourse markers within context. Discourse markers are used really in speaking because that's just the natural way that native speakers, when they're talking with each other, they use discourse markers. You hear it all the time. Here are some more. Do you work or are you a student? Right. Well, until last August 2018, I was seeking a master's in computer science, but since graduating, I have been working in my field of computer science. Currently, I'm employed by the IBM New Products Division located in Accra, Ghana. What do you dislike about your job? I'm glad you brought that up because actually I was just thinking about the pros and cons of my employment. At the end of the day, I like 90% of my work. But I would have to say that I disapprove of the long working hours and the unusual schedule that results.
ඔය දීලා තියෙන්නේ හොඳට ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න ඔය දීලා තියෙන්නේ ඔයාලට උත්තර එන්න ඕන විදිහ. හරිද? බෑන්ඩ් ඩිස්ක්‍රිප්ටර් එක අපි fluency and coherence කියන එකේදී කරන්න ඕන දේ තමයි ඔය ඔයාලට මෙච්චර වෙලා ඔයාලා දැක්කේ. මේකේ ඊළඟ බෑන්ඩ් ඩිස්ක්‍රිප්ටර් එක තමයි lexical resources. බලන්න lexical resources වලට මොනවද නෑ.
Okay, so you've just learned all the information you need to know about how to really improve your fluency coherence score. Now we're going to move into the next area on the rubric band, and that is the lexical resource. Lexical resource basically means your vocabulary. And in this lecture, I'm going to cover the basics of the band and also explain the different parts to you so that you really know how to improve your lexical score when it comes to speaking. At the end of this lecture, you'll know exactly what you need to do to be able to get a great lexical score on the speaking test. Again, as in the previous video, here are the band score descriptors. And really, you can really look at just some of the differences. So for example, for a band 7, it says uses vocabulary resources flexibly, some less common vocabulary and idioms. Then for an 8, it says uses a wide vocabulary resource readily and flexibly to convey precise meaning. Okay. Then for a 9, uses vocabulary with full flexibility, not just wide, full flexibility and precision in all topics. Okay. And now the examiners are trained to be able to tell the differences between when somebody's band 6, 7, 8, or 9. They're trained. They have very specific training to be able to recognize where you're fitting on that band scale. So here's some ways to improve your lexical resource. Number 1 is so important, and it deals with using subject-specific vocabulary. If the topic is about language, you should be using specific vocabulary about language. If the topic is about street markets, you should be using specific vocabulary in that area of street markets. If the topic is the weather, use specific subject-specific vocabulary. That really impresses a grader. If you're just using general, basic level words, you're not going to seem that impressive.
Right. ඔයාලා කවදාවත් general specific words පාවිච්චි කරන්න එපා. ඔයාලා කතා කරනකොට මොකද it will not going to give you a good band score. Please, when you are writing, try to be specific. Okay, try to be specific. Try to do specific cases. හරිද? ඔයා ලියන හැම දෙයක් පිළිබඳව ඔයා කියන හැම දෙයක් පිළිබඳව specific වෙන්න, which will help you a great deal. All right. And when it comes to this one, right, can use vocabulary out high level of lexical ability, high level of lexical ability, right? Can use vocabulary outside of everyday interaction. හරිද? අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් පාවිච්චි කරන සිස්ටම් එකට වඩා එහා ගිහිල්ලා ඔයා පාවිච්චි කරන්න try කරන්න. අන්න ඔයාට ලකුණු හම්බෙනවා. හරිද? Can I speak on abstract topics? හරිද? ඔයාට පුළුවන් ඕන දෙයක් දුන්නාම ඒකට කරකවල ගහන්න පුළුවන් ඕන පැත්තකට. Right? And no struggle to find words. You're not struggling. All right? You're not struggling to find words. You're free, right? You're free. All right? Yes, you're free. All right? You can do anything. And low, when it comes to low level of ability to use the vocabulary. Right? The speaker can do okay in part 1 with leading question to use right vocabulary. පළවෙනි එකේ ඔයා පාවිච්චි කරා. හරිද? ඔයාට දෙවෙනි එකට ඔයා දෙවෙනි එකේදී යනගන්න. ඔන්න ඔය වගේ කරන්න එපා. Right? Try to be vigilant on what you're right. May kala kare api lexical resources, right? Next one, band descriptor, grammatical range.
So now you've learned about how to really manage yourself in regards to fluency, coherence, and also your lexical ability. Now, in this lecture, we're going to hit on the finer points of grammar accuracy and range. Grammar is a really, really important concept when it comes to doing very well on the speaking section of the course. You want to truly master your foundational grammar, because it's very impressive to an examiner when you're able to speak with mistake-free sentences. Let me say this about grammar. When you actually get into the exam, when you actually are starting your real exam with the examiner, don't worry about your grammar at that point. At that point, whatever grammar you know, you know. Because very often what happens is students get very self-conscious of their grammar during the exam, and they end up hurting their score in regards to pronunciation, fluency, coherence, and also their lexical ability. So now let's move forward, and I'll explain the band descriptor for grammar, and I hope at the end of this lecture you'll have a really good idea of what you need to do to score well. Right, so grammar range.
When it comes to grammar range, this is what you need to do, right? Also, for band 6, use a mix of simple and complex structures. Structures ko mari maru experiment try karla gahala tiyan. Maru ko maru experiment try karla gahala. All right, and but with limited flexibility. I'm a pattarama limit to lahada, but you're limited. When you're writing, you're limited. May make frequent mistakes, right? You would make frequent mistakes. True. Acceptable, right? With complex structures written out, mistakes karna. Acceptable, right? But it really causes problems to you, right? Band 7, use a range of complex sentence structures can monocular. So we know about what are the sentence structures. So what we need to do is you need to go through them very quickly, right? To have a good idea. All right. Use a range of complex sentence structures with some flexibility and frequently produce errors, right? Error. You can frequently, not frequently. If you need, you can. If you need more marks, you can make simple errors, not frequently, but here and there. Right? Grammatical mistakes may persist. It's true that grammatical mistakes may persist, but here and there you can do it. Not at the end of that. Right? Band 8. Use wider range of sentences in a very flexible manner. Use a wide range of sentences in a very flexible manner. Flexible with produce a majority of error-free sentences. Error-free sentences. Right? Only occasional, inappropriate or systematic errors. Ahim mehim. Aultian. Right? To make and obtain more marks. Right? Band 9. Use a full range of structures naturally and appropriately. Produce consistent, accurate sentence structures. Because you know you are making mistakes, right? As you're making mistakes, you know what you need to do. Right? No errors at all. Okay, no errors at all. Errors no any errors. No any errors. right? මෙන්න මේ දේවල් මතක තියාගන්න. මේ දේවල් වලින් තමයි ඔයා ගොඩ යන්නේ. ඔයා මේ දේවල් කරේ නැති වුණොත් ඔයා ගොඩට යන්නේ නැහැ පුතේ. ඔයා අමාරුවට යනවා. Right? Next one is another band descriptor is there. That band descriptor is pronunciation band descriptor. Right. This is pronunciation.
Okay, at this point, I hope you're feeling much better about how to really score well on the IELTS speaking tests in regards to the band descriptors. You've really learned the finer points of fluency and coherence, lexical ability, and grammar range and accuracy. So now we're going to get into the final section on the rubric, which deals with the area of pronunciation. Now, pronunciation is really a high level skill in terms of teaching it. So we're not going to really get so much into teaching you pronunciation, but more of just really explaining to you the finer points of the rubric so that you understand what you need to do well to achieve a great score in regards to pronunciation. So I hope by the end of this lecture, you'll have a greater grasp on what it means to have great pronunciation on the IELTS speaking test. So let's get started. These are the
Pronunciation band descriptors. Band 5. Use limited range of pronunciation. Pronunciation ටික තමයි කතා කරනවා limit වෙලා. අයෙන් මෙහෙන් වැරදි කරනවා ලස්සනට වැරදි කරනවා. Right? You are done. Don't do. Right? Okay. Attempt to control phases, but leaps are frequent. ඔයා control කරන්න try කරනවා. Here and there, right? You are making mistakes. Right? Here and there, you are making mistakes. Please, no. Mispronunciations are frequent. වැරදියට pronounce කරනවා හැමතැනම තියෙනවා. Right? වැරදියට pronounce කරනවා. police ගානක පාට police කියනවා. Right? police කියනවා police කියනවා. ඉතින් කොහොමද ලකුණු වෙන්නේ? police කරන්න තමයි අන්තිමට වෙන්නේ. Never do that. Right? Band 6. Use of range of pronunciation features with mixed control shows some effectiveness. I am මෙහෙම පොඩ්ඩක් effect එකක් පෙන්නනවා. Right? පොඩි effect එකක් පෙන්නනවා. All right? You have a small effect on what you are writing, what you are saying. You tend to make errors. Yet you tend to make errors. Band 8. Use a wide range of pronunciation features. Sustain flexible use of it, right? With only occasional leaps. I am මෙහෙම පොඩ්ඩක් පත්තු වෙලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ යනවා ඒ උනාට you are sustainable. All right. Band 9. Use a full range of pronunciation features with precise and sustainable and flexible way. Right? හැම එකම හරියට භාවිත කරන්න. හරියට පාවිච්චි කරන්න. ඔන්න ඕකට තමයි බෑන් 9. ඔන්න අපි ලකුණු ගන්නවා නම් ගන්න ඕන තැටි. මම අද ඉවර කරගන්න මම listening වලටත් එන්න try එකක් තමයි දුන්නේ. හැබැයි listening වලට එන්න try එකක් දෙන්න වෙලාවක් නැහැ මට. band descriptors ටික මම ඔයාලට දුන්නේ වෙන මොකක්ද නිසා නෙමෙයි. ඔයාලා කරන්න ඕන මොකද්ද කියන එක ගැන it will gives you an idea because of that. Right? එහෙනම් මම අදට ගිහිල්ලා එන්නම්. ওই ටික ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න speaking වල revision එකක් විදියට ওই ටිකෙන් ඔයාලා පුළුවන් තරම් කතා කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න. මම 1 to 1 මම ගන්න try කරනවා උපරිම ඔයාලා set එක 1 to 1 ගන්න උපරිම try කරනවා. මේක තමයි අපේ කරන්න ඕන දේ. අපිට තියාගන්න. එහෙනම් මම අදට ගිහිල්ලා එන්නම්.